Hello and welcome back to 4FS Gaming. Today we are going to be looking at how to survive an ambush, and this video will look at a variety of things that you can do both before and during a surprise attack when you get caught with your pants down in Hunt Showdown. If you want to see some more of this in action, I've started streaming again over on my Twitch channel, so you can find that linked in the description below. So a perfect ambush is pretty hard to beat. If the first thing that you know about having enemies in your area is getting sent to the death screen with a surprise headshot, can any amount of tactics really help you? Well, yes, because so often what you're doing just before an ambush can impact whether or not that shot actually lands. So I'm going to start with the big number one. Always assume you are about to be ambushed. Play every single moment in this game as if there are hunters in a bush that you can't see trying to line you up. Expect to get shot at, and always know where you can go if that were to happen. Unless you are underground, in a building, or can personally account for the location of every single enemy hunter left on the map, assume someone has you in their sights at all times. Now if you act on this assumption, then it will impact two very important elements of your gameplay: movement and positioning. Let's start with movement. Don't crouch walk, like at all, unless you absolutely have to. As you gain experience, you start to figure out moments when it is safe to crouch. Like if you have checked the only other spawn leading into your first compound, and there could not possibly be anyone else close enough to pose a threat, then you can crouch past those birds to grab that first clue. Now if you're in a bush or a building, or otherwise have absolute concealment, then you can sit still. But otherwise, you should always be moving as fast and as erratically as possible. If you do this, the average player will almost always miss their opening shot in an ambush, or be too insecure in their aim to actually take that shot in the first place. Crouch walking is a skill to be used sparingly, and only when you have enough experience to tell when it is safe to do so. New players lean way too hard into stealth over speed. Now this can be viable if you have excellent game sense and map knowledge, but generally it just gets people killed. I know everyone likes to be stealthy in Hunt, but you can be stealthy without being slow, and I think crouch walking is pretty much the number one cause of death in the bayou these days. Then we have positioning. If you assume you're about to be ambushed, then you always need to have a place that you can go to when you get shot at to heal or wait for your teammates, or even just figure out where the hell those enemies are. Stick close to cover and other elements of the environment that can block line of sight and make you hard to track. Break your pathfinding so that you don't travel predictably in straight lines, and avoid getting in the midst of a bunch of AI. If you do find yourself getting ripped apart by too many dogs, just shoot them. Giving an ambusher an opportunity to take you down while on low health is not worth staying quiet. Remember, if you make noise, all that tells people is your last known position at that point in time. If you then move quickly and erratically, that information about where you shot from isn't going to be worth a whole lot. Now the second point about positioning is to do with where your partners are. You should be spread out from your partner or partners, so that in the event of an ambush, at least one person on the team will have good enough position to survive easily. For instance, avoid walking over water next to your team. One person should cross while the others cover and then switch. On the other hand, you need to be close enough that your partner or partners can very quickly back you up in the event of an ambush. This is a fine balance. But generally, my rule is that I like to stay far enough away from my partners so that I can't hear them walking, but I can hear them sprinting. This distance seems to work really well for me, so try it out, give it a go. And this brings me to my next point, which is sort of related. One advantage of staying outside of your partner's walking footstep range is that you can then assume that any crouch footstep, dark sight use, reload, or weapon switch you hear is hostile, and that means you can react much faster without having to double check if it was just your nearby partner. Looking for subtle clues like this can help turn an ambush around before it even gets started. Let's look at a quick clip here where a would-be ambusher is revealed by AI. Looking for environmental hints will save your life and get you kills.
There's a grunt doing a taunt aggro.
Yeah. Tower, there's someone in tower.
Yeah. Hit. I love people in towers.
So our first 4 points are things to watch out for before an ambush. The last 2 are what to do during an ambush. Now these of course assume that you survive that opening shot. The first thing you need to do is figure out if you have actually been ambushed, or if your teammates have been ambushed. You need to decide this very quickly, almost instantly, because the speed at which you make decisions in these moments will determine who wins the fight. If you are positioned properly, there is a good chance that when the firing starts, it's one or both of your teammates being targeted and not you. The enemy might not even know your exact position. In these instances, the first reaction needs to be aggression. Flank if possible and engage as soon as you can while the enemy is still trying to mop up your partner or partners. I've actually got a pretty good clip of this playing out in practice. My team gets ambushed, I don't, and it allows me to put pressure on the flank.
Go to blanch it. My game hasn't crashed yet. Oh, I'm getting shot at.
From the left.
Hit. I changed to the wrong fucking weapon.
I got one. Help.
The other one's
I'm
wounded.
blinded,
The other one's
completely
wounded.
blinded.
He's flashed. He's flashed.
Yep.
Did you get one?
I killed one, yep.
Yeah, back over here. There's one more. Let's go. That's a zombie. There.
There.
Running left. Hit.
Oh, that's it. You might be able to grab me. Get me up.
I'm resing. Just go near that White House. DCU. Nice kill. Is that all three or?
Yep, that's
I
all
think
three. If you killed one, I killed two.
Now of course in some instances it's just not going to play out like this and going aggressive won't be the right move. If you're too far away or in a bad position, or if the enemy's ambush is so effective that it instantly eliminates all of your allies, trying to engage immediately might be a bit suicidal. In these cases, make the most of staying concealed and then treat the situation like a standard 1v2 or 1v3 clutch, except you know the enemy's position and they don't know yours. Alright, so let's look at the final worst case scenario. If you get seen and shot at. With any luck, the shot misses entirely because you're using rapid and erratic movement as we discussed earlier, but maybe you are on a slither of health left. And this is when that fight-flight response kicks in, and you need to make a very decisive and almost instantaneous decision again to fight, or to get cover and heal and wait for your team to engage with you. This decision is almost always life and death. If you choose to fight when you should have run away, then you're going to get downed, guaranteed. If you chose to run when you should have engaged, then you risk fighting from a weaker position than your opponents have for the rest of the fight. Now there are some important determining factors here. If you have no cover nearby and your position is very poor, it's unlikely that you're going to make it to safety if you do run. At this point, your best method of preventing someone from hitting and killing you is simply to shoot them in the head. I've trained myself over a long time to make this my first reaction in most cases of an ambush, just to shoot the attacker in the head, because I find that at least 80% of the time, I don't get to make it to cover if I decide to run. People are pretty good at hitting follow-ups, and often ambushes occur when there's multiple people shooting at you. So at least if you shoot back, there's a good chance you can pull out a trade if your aim is good. Now I'm especially encouraged to do this if I get shot at by a single shot rifle, because I know that this gives me slightly more time to turn the ambush on its head. I see a lot of people just run straight for cover when they get ambushed. Most of the time, they die. Generally, if it takes more than 2 seconds to break line of sight from your attacker, then you are better off just trying to kill them, provided you have the right weapons for that range of engagement of course, and can actually identify where they are. But whatever you do, with any of this information, if you get ambushed, you need to move. Do not stay crouched after getting shot at, ever, even through a wall. It's basically a guaranteed death sentence. The amount of people that I see staying crouched while they're getting shot at is just, it's mind-blowing. Please don't do it, just move quickly. Now of course, the best situation is one in which you don't get ambushed at all, and you are the one that gets the drop on your enemies. One of my much older videos is still highly relevant here and can teach you how to properly track enemy teams around the map with ease, so I'll put that in the description for you as well. Hopefully the tips in this video can help you out. If so, please consider subscribing for more videos every week. And as always, thank you to our amazing Patreon supporters and you guys for watching the video all the way through. This is Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.